Welcome back to the Mental Dietitian Podcast. I'm your host, Ahren Lynch-Potter, and today's episode is an interesting one. It's going to be a bit of me just riffing on a particular subject. And this particular subject is the question, can you be too self-aware? Can you be too self-aware? My first and shortest answer is no. No, you cannot. But there's so many different directions I could go with this. Do I consider myself self-aware? Yes. Do I know that there's blind spots that I have that when I look back on it in the future, I will wonder how I didn't see it? 100%. 100%. There's probably areas in my life right now that there are unconscious patterns flowing through my life, but life's pretty fucking good right now. Life's pretty damn good. And I've done a lot of releasing, a lot of letting go over the past few years of patterns and belief systems that did serve me, but were no longer serving me the way that they used to when I created them based on some kind of past pain or past hurt. There's a saying that says past hurts inform future fears. And that's a really big thing to be aware of, and something that if you're afraid of something in your life or afraid of getting out there or living your dream, whatever that means to you, waking up in the morning and choosing what you want to do with your day. That's my dream. And I'm pretty damn close to being that. I actually am living that in some ways. There's still some things that I'm working on, mostly financially, kind of getting out of some debt that occurred because of these patterns, these unconscious patterns, these patterns around kind of being not addicted, we could use the word addicted to being unsafe. Or maybe another lens of looking at it through would be that's all you know. It's like a like a little fish in a little pond and he's only ever swum in that water. So when you put him in a different pond, the water's slightly different and it actually might be healthier. This new pond is actually much better quality water. But the fish is uncomfortable because it's not the water he's used to swimming in, which might be actually very polluted and causing him suffering and causing him to be sick. So that's a little analogy I could paint, but can you be too self-aware? A lot of people that think they're self-aware or maybe have an awareness around things, what can happen, especially in what I'll call the New Age spiritual community, which maybe somebody could say I'm a part of that. People that do psychedelics, people that do a bunch of work on themselves, gather in ceremonies, do borrow First Nations or other cultures types of ceremonial work, whether it's Peruvian, whether it's usually South American, I've noticed. And they wear the hats. They, the people, like the people in Austin, Texas, the people that people like maybe people like Aubrey Marcus, who I love that dude. I think he's fantastic. But that kind of like group, sometimes people that fall into that group, if we're stereotyping a particular group of people, I've seen within that community, not Aubrey Marcus, but it's just like he comes to mind, but people that do some work on themselves in the psychedelic world, sometimes they think they're better than other people. And they can develop a superego. It's called a superego, where it's like instead of creating connectiveness and the lovingness of all things, what can happen is you get a little bit of an insight into how reality really works, the veil in which has been pulled over your eyes and gets pulled off. Then you come back into the world and you see people that you think or you are perceiving that they are still stuck there. And then apparently you're no longer stuck there anymore, according to you and this newfound insight that you have. So therefore, you are operating in a way which is different than other people, which is fine. You can be very different than other people. It does not mean that you're fundamentally better than them. It does not mean anything like that. And I was there when I first started this journey. I remember coming back from my first psychedelic therapeutic experience, my first psychedelic ceremony, and just thinking I could just see people's stuff that I did not see before, which actually created quite a lot of suffering. That's another thing of this being too self-aware kind of concept is that there's lots of studies that the more intelligent you are, as in the more intelligence can mean many different things. I know people that are incredibly intelligent, amazingly intelligent, that probably don't know how to read or write very well. Doesn't mean they are not intelligent. They're very, very intelligent. But let's just say that the more that you contemplate life and the more that you dissect of why we're here, what's the point of all of this, they've done studies on that, that those people tend to have higher rates of psychological suffering. And it's a lot easier to go through life being a happy idiot, for lack of a better term. And sometimes people who are very intelligent really overcomplicate things and really, I think of somebody like David Foster Wallace, if you know who he is, incredibly smart. The way he could articulate the way he saw reality and the way he saw things was amazing. Ended up killing himself, unfortunately. There's lots of that. There's lots of people that are very brilliant and can create and can manifest and manipulate reality into the way that they want to, not manipulating in a bad way, but manipulating and creating it. I think of somebody like Elon Musk. I've seen many interviews with him where he's like, you wouldn't want to be inside my head. And I can 100% agree with that. No, thank you. So things to be aware of when you're expanding your awareness around things, noticing patterns that you have, noticing how they flow through your life and how they affect you and the people around you, and all of this is that just because you notice these things, just because you get some answers about yourself, does not mean that you are better than anybody else that maybe hasn't got those answers yet about themselves and maybe never will. That's one of the painful things about life. Okay, you got this awareness now. Here's the truth, pal. It's not a Disney movie. Not everybody makes it. The people that you want to heal and the people that you want to stop repeating the patterns that you can so crystal clear see in their life. You can see it. You might have even tried to tell them many times. Those people, a lot of them will not do what you would love them to do. They will not find this peace and happiness that maybe you think you found. And it's your job to sit with that feeling, the grief around that. So it's like the Matrix movie. It's such a good documentary. There's the guy that I totally get it. The guy that gets plugged out of the Matrix, gets like unplugged, and he's eating this disgusting looking oat mixture on the Nebuchadnezzar, that ship that goes through the underground world underneath where all the machines are. And he's like, I want to go back. Like, fuck this. I'm eating this disgusting goop. I'd rather be plugged into the Matrix and eat a steak. Is it not a real steak? It doesn't matter. It tastes like a real steak. I want to be a rock star. So he approaches the Matrix, Agent Smith, who is the kind of runs the Matrix as a program that's like the protector of it, and said, I want to go back in, make me a rock star. Give me the blue pill. And I totally get that. I didn't used to get it. July last year, actually, no, it was December 2022. I had a real embodied experience of that in a psychedelic journey where it's like, oh, you want all the answers? You want to know how reality works? Well, here's what it's going to take. Here's what you have to let go of. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to do that. I actually don't want to do that. I'm done. And I was done. I reached this point where I was like, yeah, I'm good. And then what it actually was a block, really big block that actually started in my family a long time before I was even born. And then how many months later? 7, 8 months later, I took a long time off, which for me at the time was a long time away from psychedelics because I had this kind of addictive mentality where I have to do more. I was going every 3 to 6 months and diving deeper and deeper and deeper, and I was looking for something. What was actually happening was I was repeating the seeking was the problem in the first place. Because if you're looking for something, it means you don't have what that thing is, right? Oh, I'm looking for this. It's like, oh, it means you don't have it. So if I'm looking for the answers of why I'm enough or why I belong in the world, it means that the fundamental seeking behavior means that I don't think that or don't feel that about myself. So it's like a snake eating its own tail. There's a lot of people in this self-awareness and this growth space, in this healing themselves kind of space that are stuck in that cycle. They think that if they would just go back to Peru and do more ayahuasca, then that would be the answer. There's a lot of people I know that are stuck there. And that's okay. It's not my life. I was able to kind of break that, or I got broken, should I say, in July last year, and then I actually returned to the water that I swam in. I returned to it 1 week later. 1 week later, after having all this shame lifted out of my body, I returned to shame. I was smoking marijuana and watching porn. A week after a plant medicine experience. What happened after that is I fell into a cycle of shame-based behaviors the next 4 or 5 months. And then coming up on almost a year ago, it'll be the anniversary in about a month from now. And I say it's an anniversary because it's the greatest thing that I've ever had to go through to become who I'm meant to be. I basically had a psychological break because of the particular plant medicine that I sat with. Some people say that as soon as you drink that particular plant medicine, it's always with you. It's like an energy, it's like an entity, it's like a symbiotic relationship that you always have. And I had to re-experience the great releasing of shame all over again. And I've talked about this in the podcast before. And all that awareness that I think I had of being too self-aware, it was like a window that was smashed. It was a deeply humbling experience. All the things that you think that I thought that I was, and all that was shattered. And since then, life's been really amazing. It was the great build up to the crescendo of the shattering of who I thought I was, which took about 3 years. And that's been about a year since then. And I do not live in the same feelings that I had around feeling like I was better than other people, this too self-awareness kind of thing. Because if you think you're better than other people, that also goes the other direction, which means you think people are better than you, which is there's some not enoughness there. Anytime you believe something, it's always interesting to try to turn around and look the other way and see where it came from. If you're looking up, why don't you look down? If you're looking east, why don't you look west? It's just an interesting way to live your life. But yeah, can you be too self-aware? I would say no. But you got to be real careful. You got to be really careful of separating yourself or thinking that because you see the world a different way, that maybe other people don't see it that way, that you are better than them, or that somehow makes you more important than anybody else. Because life will humble you if you think that. It will humble you big time. You're a human being having a human experience just like anybody else. So, love you guys. Hope this helps, and we'll see you next week.